And so, after talking with you guys yesterday on the podcast about this, 3 different people recommended this microphone. It's Chinese. It says right on it. It's pre-built. Look at that. They pre-built it on those like rubber band threads. By the way, Genesis Gaming says, why not use this Discord on your PC? Can't. This microphone needs to be used for OBS. One of the things that we did last week that people really enjoyed is I had a special Friday Night Fights with my friend Brian, also going by top tier rated over on Twitch. We did a 2.5 hour set of Street Fighter 6. It was great. I used a variety of characters. He did too. We had fun. But the one thing that was sorely lacking was voice communication, because I haven't actually done anything online cooperative with anyone in many years, right? Like many years. I just don't do it because of trolling.
To say that people really enjoyed that session, DSP, I think is a little bit of a stretch. Sure, the video does have a viewer count higher than your typical average, but I'm not quite convinced that that's an indication of enjoyment on your fans' behalf. In fact, I think that it's more of an indication that since you've done something out of the ordinary on your channel, all of the trolls had to go and see exactly how it turned out. But yes, for anybody who wasn't aware and hasn't seen it yet, DSP did do a 2.5 hour play session of Street Fighter 6 with Brian. Now, some of you might remember Brian from when DSP played Apex Legends with Kekken.
But I don't know, dude. If you got a good team, like play with me and my friends, I think you'll be all right.
Play pickup
We'll
games,
carry you until you figure it out, you know.
And while the Street Fighter matches, if you ask me, weren't necessarily notable, what is particularly interesting about the situation is the predicament that arises from the whole thing. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that for years now, DSP has not actually had to do any sort of voice communication with another human being over the internet. And after this session with Brian, it was made very clear that Brian, of all people, was actually interested in doing voice communication and insisted that if they continue to do these sessions, that DSP figure out how to make that happen on the stream.
Well, Brian said, hey, I'd love to do it again, but man, you really got to find a way to talk so we can communicate if we do it again.
And in some weird turn of events, probably because DSP is looking to shove off the responsibility of being entertaining on his own streams, he actually wanted to make that happen for Brian and continue to do these sessions. But of course, nothing is ever simple in the Snort Fort. And despite DSP already owning a legitimate microphone that is already plugged into a PC so that he can run it through OBS to stream on, he, for some reason, got this idea into his head that you cannot use a singular microphone for 2 separate sources, meaning despite Brian already being on a PC and making it very easy for them to both just use Discord in order to communicate, that DSP would need a second microphone to plug into his PS5 so that they could communicate through the game. Now, I don't think that I have to tell you how absurd this actually is, and that there was no reason for DSP to do this at all. But of course he did.
And so, after talking with you guys yesterday on the podcast about this, 3 different people recommended this microphone. I have no clue if it's any good. It's Ampligame B-Fine or Fi-Fine RGB mic series. It was cheap. I'm going to be honest. On Amazon, this was around just under 40 bucks, okay? So it's not an expensive mic or anything like that. It's Chinese. It says right on it. Made by the Zhongking Haijia Electronics Company from China. So I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, all right? What's hilarious is that it tries to copy the form factor and design of, say, a professional grade mic that I use today and I've been using for the greater part of 10 years, but it definitely isn't going to be that level of quality. For $40, you're never going to get the same as this guy, okay?
And so, for whatever reason, DSP decided to purchase this $40 microphone off of Amazon and get it shipped next day. And as DSP always does, whenever he does anything for the stream, he immediately starts to belittle and downplay what he's doing, to immediately remove any sort of hype or interest in the thing that he's currently talking about, rushing to immediately tell his audience that it's going to sound terrible and that it was Chinese. I don't know why it was important to say that it was Chinese, but he thought that it was important, so I'm repeating it. But I love how interested he is in the fact that the microphone tries to look like a standard microphone would. I'm not quite sure why he thought that the price point of the microphone being $40 would mean that it wouldn't try and look like a microphone, but I'm willing to just chalk that up to another thing about DSP that I'll never understand. I mean, really, what did he expect it to look like? A xylophone?
So, what we're going to do today, first of all, we're going to do a live unboxing. We're going to see what it looks like. We're going to see, does it look durable? What comes in the box? And if you guys want to, this is totally up to you. We can plug it in and see if it works. Okay, I'm down for that. We can do another live testing session where we try out a new piece of equipment and see if it works. The thing is, I really don't know how to test it properly on PS5. Like, how does PS5 work when you plug in a mic? Is there a menu where you can test the settings and the audio quality? I have no idea. Okay, so I guess we can maybe do that. It's up to you guys.
And for the second time in a week, DSP has decided to completely destroy any semblance of a schedule or routine when it comes to the pre-stream and instead do another live testing with his audience. Of course, I'm not in charge of what goes on over at DSP Space Gaming, but I can imagine the frustration of somebody who genuinely watches the content for the gaming news and opinions of this content creator when they tune into the show like they do supposedly daily, and this guy is willing to throw every single topic to the side because he wants to test his microphone live. Because I think that it would go without saying that doing a live testing of a microphone is not exactly the best content. In fact, and this is just a hunch, I would imagine that most general audiences aren't interested in this content at all, and would much rather you do this off stream. But this is DSP Space Gaming that we're talking about, and of course nothing can be done off stream, all of it must be monetizable, or why would we even do it? So let's go ahead and jump into that unboxing and live testing, which I'm absolutely sure will be peak entertainment.
Do we want to do the unboxing? You want to check out this microphone? So this is called the Ampligame A6V gaming microphone. Specification: element condenser microphone, polar pattern, unidirectional, 5-volt power supply, output via USB. Features a tap to mute sensor, plug and play, RGB lighting. Yes, this thing glows, which wasn't really a thing I cared about, but just does. A pop filter and gain control built in, which even my professional studio mic doesn't have gain control built in. This does, okay? But I must emphasize, this microphone was under $40. I think it was like $38 or something like that on Amazon. How good could it possibly be for $38, right?
So despite having the entire product page and all of the information directly in front of him during the purchasing process, and of course the ability to personally look up any sort of legitimate reviews or tests that have already been done on the microphone on the entire internet, DSP has decided to do what appears to be no research on this microphone at all and spend about $38 just very haphazardly. And it's at this point that I want to take the time and remind everybody that if you believe what DSP says, all of the upgrades that have occurred on his stream over the past couple of years have been donated by fans and were not actually purchased by him. So it strikes me as very strange that all of a sudden, again without any sort of research on this product, we've decided to just spend $40 this flippantly. Not only is it flippant spending, but it's also spending for a solution to a problem that DSP created himself because he doesn't understand the equipment or any of the software that he uses.
All right, so Ampligame. Want to check this out? And yes, it is Chinese. It says right on the side of the box, it's Chinese. The company is Zhaoqing Haizha. There you go.
Of course, he had to double down on the fact that the product was from China, as if that has any sort of indication to the quality. There's definitely nice products that can be made in China. It's all about how much you're willing to spend, DSP, and unfortunately for you, I don't think that the price point for high quality is about $40. But of course, DSP was not going to miss out on the opportunity to sneak diss an entire foreign country.
All right, ready? Let's take a look. Okay. So right on top, we have instructions, which we'll look at in a bit, I assume. We don't have to look at those yet. Okay. Some kind of foam on top. Remove the foam. And there's the product on the inside. Surprisingly enough, this is good packaging, right? Like for a cheap mic, this is pretty good packaging. It's got form-fitting foam to keep it pretty much steady. I'm shocked that they actually did that. I thought it would be like really cheaply packaged for such a cheap price, right? So
Wow, would you look at that? A brief sighting of DS Positive. It's not too often that the guy actually has anything positive to say about another company or their product. But this appears to be one of the rare instances where DSP can actually sit there and appreciate the packaging that the microphone came in. Look, I appreciate good packaging just as much as the next guy, maybe even a little more so. But it takes a little more than just some form-fitting foam in order to actually impress me.
here we got the USB cable. It appears to be, it's probably like a 6-foot USB cable. For the record, I bought some USB expansion cables for this because I knew it wouldn't reach from my PS5 to over here. Okay. And here we've got what appears to be the tripod. Okay. Very basic. Probably the most basic tripod layout you could see. So I guess that's, yeah, there you go. It's like right there. I guess you could technically, no, you can't. I was going to say, could you make it not have the legs be extended as much, but not really? I guess maybe. I don't know how strong they are because I might want to have it like a little bit taller rather than shorter. I guess I'll experiment with that. Here, let me get the styrofoam out of the way. It's going to go right here. It's literally going to sit right next to my other mic. I'm going to have two mics in front of me when I'm playing on PS5. Okay? Yeah, that is not very even. So now it looks like you have to kind of extend it out all the way. So it has to go out wide like that. That's how you have to extend this tripod mount here. Okay? All right?
Truly, what riveting content this is. A 42-year-old man pulling out the accessories to a $40 microphone that he bought off of Amazon. And I'm really beginning to wonder what his fascination with the rinkiest, dinkiest little microphones is. These cheap little microphones that sit on the tiniest tripods the world has ever seen. I mean, for the longest time, this was the microphone that he was using every day on stream. Of course, size isn't all that matters. It's all about how you use it. I'm just wondering why DSP specifically is drawn to these very small mics.
Now the microphone itself, so all comes out as one piece. It's pre-built. Look at that. They pre-built it on those like rubber band threads. You don't have to build it yourself. They actually made it in the warehouse or whatever. It has a smile. Look at that. It has a smile on the front. Does your microphone smile at you when you use it? Mine doesn't right now, but this one will smile at me apparently. Look at that. I don't know about that pop guard. That's probably pretty much the crappiest pop guard I've ever seen. Like, it barely covers the front of the mic. My pop guard, as you can see, literally goes all the way around the mic. This one barely covers the front. So that's a pretty crappy pop guard there.
I've never in my life heard anybody refer to a microphone as pre-built, because obviously all microphones are pre-built. You don't literally assemble a microphone out of the box. That's not how these things have ever worked. But if there was ever anybody who needed a pre-built microphone, it was DSP. He's the exact type of person that would benefit from not having to mount a microphone to a shock absorber, because inevitably he would find some way in order to mess this up. But despite the mic being a pre-built, this is unfortunately the end of DS Positive, because he's not too thrilled about the size of the pop filter. Now, I'm not quite sure that DSP is aware of this, but the pop filter really only has to cover the front of the mic, the part that you speak directly into, in order to work properly. And given the current situation that DSP is in, the pop filter is honestly not even a requirement, as the audience really shouldn't be hearing from this microphone at all. This should be used exclusively in order to communicate with Brian. But DSP wouldn't be DSP if he didn't take the time to hate and belittle something simply for existing in a way that he doesn't deem acceptable, regardless of whether or not it actually makes any sort of difference.
Okay. All right, well, so there we go. Put this stuff back in for now. Assemble it. Smiling Friends microphone. Isn't that a new show or something on TV? Smiling Friends? I don't know. So here we go. So I guess we have to loosen this. There we go. Okay. So now we have to screw the tripod in. Righty-tighty, right? Okay. Screwing it in. Turn to the screw. Okay, make it snug. So as you can see, this thing is going to be very low. Like, it's going to be a little bit lower than my current mic. There's no way that it could even be as high because it doesn't have the arm to lift it up. And the tripod is such a low-form tripod that there's no way it's going to have... I might actually, you know what? I might do this. I might put it here. Yeah, because when I'm playing, I'll be like this, and I'll be able to just turn and talk like this. That's actually better. Yeah, that's actually better to do it that way. All right, and so if I'm going to angle it at me, I have to kind of like adjust it to have it point at my mouth. If I'm like this and I'm turning like this, it would be just about that angle right there. I'll like tighten it now.
And you would think that as he's going through the process of adding yet another microphone into his setup, a very strange thing that I never thought that I would have to say, you might think that he would begin to see some of the inefficiencies of his setup. Even the idea that he would have to think about placing the microphone in a certain spot at a certain angle in order to capture his voice accurately because he has to look at his TV should be throwing up red flags. Because to any normal person, it would make the most sense in order to have the TV set up directly in front of you and all of your microphones as well. But due to the current layout of Burnell Productions over here, that setup is currently impossible, and Phil is making no active effort to make that ever possible.
No one donated this. This is just me spending the money that I make on streams to get it, okay? And by the way, this is based on your recommendations. People recommended mics yesterday, and 3 different people sent me this mic as a recommendation saying that it's pretty good for the price. It's pretty good, okay? So here's what it looks like. Once it's assembled and kind of angled, it smiles at you, okay? So what I want to do is I want to test it and see if it actually works with PS5. It says it does. By the way, it's supposed to glow. So let's test it. Let's first of all, here's the USB cable it comes with. All cables now come with these Velcro wraps, which is kind of nice that they do that. I don't know why they have a cap. What do you think is going to get wedged in your USB cable that you need a cap for it? It's kind of stupid, but they all come with that now too.
So despite taking notice of the care and attention that went into the packaging just earlier in this unboxing, DSP seems to be irritated at the fact that they put a cap on the end of the USB so no sort of debris got in there during shipment. To me, this just seems like a very strange thing to be upset about or to even be irritated by slightly. Odd to me to appreciate the Velcro strap for cable management, but not appreciate the USB cap as to make sure that nothing is messing up your USB. It's like he has to find something to hate on. He has to find something to complain about to his audience or he has no content.
So here's the cable, but it is short. I mean, that's what? Not even 6 feet? What is that? 8, maybe 6 feet? But it's also a very skinny, flimsy feeling cable. So what I did, I bought an extension cable. A USB-C extension cable I also got off Amazon. Okay? So we're just going to use that to extend the length so I can actually have it reach over here. Otherwise, it wouldn't. Let's undo this. Yep, just another wire for Jasper to chew on. You're absolutely right, because you know he's going to.
Then just keep him out of the office, DSP. The solution really is that simple. If you're gonna have this attitude towards an animal that you decided to take care of and take into your home, then maybe it's within the best interest of everybody, including Jasper, that he just no longer be allowed in the room. I mean, your office is honestly a fire hazard to begin with, far before there was ever a cat chewing and exposing any sort of wires. Add on the fact that when Jasper is in the room, all of a sudden water is being introduced into the situation, and honestly, you have a recipe for disaster. I know that you're trying to justify in your own head that you didn't scam your audience by continuously showing Jasper on stream as often as possible, but like I said, for the betterment of everybody, it's probably just wise to keep Jasper out of the room. It's not like he needs somebody to watch him 24/7 anyway. He is a cat after all. And while I'm sure that all of you were very excited to watch DSP unravel a USB cable and plug in his microphone, I think that we're just going to skip past all of that and actually get into the microphone testing itself, because that is the far more interesting part, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay, think that's good? So, here we are on my PlayStation dashboard. So what's going to happen when I plug this sucker in? Do you think it's going to work? It's supposed to. It's supposed to be plug and play, works with PS5. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to return it, which is fine. But I hope that it works plug and play. It says right on it that it works with PS5. So we're going to go plug it in, and we're going to see what happens, how it reacts.
And while I absolutely understand being skeptical that something is going to work with your setup, some of that skepticism absolutely could have been quelled by just looking into the product that you were actually going to buy, by watching reviews, by reading reviews even, and looking at tests. But like we already stated, apparently DSP didn't seem to do any of that, so he's not even sure whether the microphone is going to work, which is a very strange feeling to have after you've already purchased something. And I want to apologize for any of the PlayStation noises that just came through. I'm just filling the dead air that DSP was supposed to be.
Whoa. Well, wait till you see this thing. This thing's going to be distracting. Are you ready to look at this thing? Look at this. It changes colors in a gradient pattern. Look at that. So now it's going from blue to purple. Now it's going to green, green and blue. Now it's red and green. I don't think there's any way to stop that either. I think it just does it nonstop.
And for what reason would you need to stop it, DSP? Who was this going to distract? Because if you took the time to look into your OBS preview, you'll see that it's not even within the frame of your camera. So it's not going to distract your audience. The only person that could be distracted by it is you. Are you saying that you have the attention span of a small child or an animal? Is this microphone with its RGB lights very slowly transitioning from color to color actually going to distract you from making the content that you're supposed to be making? And if that is what you're saying, do you not find that strange? Do you not find it strange that pretty much every other content creator has RGBs in their setup that are constantly flashing, things like mice and keyboards, and they are not constantly distracted during all of their content? RGBs have somehow become an industry standard when it comes to the gaming accessory market. I didn't really think that the lighting on the microphone was something worth even bringing up, but apparently DSP did. A 42-year-old man distracted by the lamest little color transition possible.
I think they said, so apparently there's 2 features of this microphone, okay? Feature number 1 is if you just tap it on the top, it mutes it. So now the microphone is muted. But now if I tap it again, now supposedly it's on again. So that's how you turn it on and off, okay? The other feature is at the bottom, there's a built-in gain knob, so I can turn it left or right to adjust the volume gain on the microphone automatically, okay, on the fly. So that's the microphone. That's what it looks like, okay? It's weird. I don't know why they put the LED light in there or what purpose it serves, but there you go. Hey, for Pride Month, which starts today, I guess I have the Pride mic here, right?
Nice, way to shoehorn that in, DSP. Very topical. You're definitely winning over your audience with that one. Why does he feel the need to question the lighting at all, DSP? It's purely for aesthetic purposes. There's no actual utility out of the LEDs that are inside of it. I honestly thought that went without saying, but I really shouldn't be surprised given how he described all of the other completely normal things that are on the microphone, like a built-in mute button and a gain knob. Because when a microphone is run off of a USB, that typically means that it's not going to be running through some sort of audio interface, meaning that if you want to turn up the gain, you kind of have to be able to do it on the microphone. And let me remind you, none of this honestly should have any sort of impact on his audience. None of them should be hearing this audio. They shouldn't even be seeing this microphone other than at the very bottom of his camera frame. So I'm not sure why we're making such a big deal out of this. I don't know why we're doing a live unboxing. I don't know why we're doing a live test. The only people that should be involved in this test at all are DSP and Brian. But I'm sure that you're aware by now that Brian is nowhere to be seen.
How does this work? Sound? Microphone. Aha. Yes, it detected it. It says USB microphone, 5-fine microphone. So it did detect it automatically, okay? So microphone status when logged in on. This setting might not work for some devices that have mute functions. Right, because I can auto mute it by doing this. Oh, now it's, okay. You have to tap it right in the middle. Yeah, you can tap it. Okay. So, I don't even know what that means. Microphone status when starting voice chat or broadcast, switch to mute. I don't know what that means.
Well, I guess we can just add that to the laundry list of things that you don't know how to do, DSP, like laundry. Really, the worst part about all of these live tests that he's been doing as he's been upgrading his stream, of course in air quotes, is all of this menu navigation, because of course the gameplay didn't have enough menu navigation. Now the pre-stream needs it as well. There really is nothing quite like watching an older style individual navigate menus where he doesn't understand what any of the options actually mean. Of course, it makes for very quick and efficient setup of every device. And these initial setup style segments are the few instances in which dead air would actually be preferred over hearing DSP talk about anything, because him auditorially expressing how confused he is at every turn just gets more and more obnoxious as the segment continues.
Adjust microphone level. Whoa, oh, it's working. Well, the microphone is definitely working. Now, what about this built-in gain? So I turned it all the way down, and as you can see, it's not registering my voice at all. If I turn it a little bit up, all right, so now, whoa. So look at that. So I only turned it a tiny bit, and it's already registering my voice like really strongly, right? Like really strong. See that? Oh, there's echo? Okay, hold on, because I can't hear it. Test. Testing. Test. Hello. I am in a tunnel. It is very echoey. Hi. Hello. Yo. Snoochie Boochies. The reason that you're hearing echo is because my microphone for the PC is delayed by 200 milliseconds. My webcam isn't fast enough to be live in the video feed, so I have to delay this very slightly. If there was no delay on my microphone, it should be simultaneous. Like, you'd actually hear it both, you see? So
you were already aware of the fact that due to the way that your current setup is, that there was going to be an echo during this test. And yet you continue to subject your audience to that. You dragged them along for this ride knowing that the auditory experience was going to be bad for them. It's just really inconsiderate.
Oh, do you want? Okay, here's what we'll do. Ready? Here's what we're going to do. Okay, so I have muted my microphone for the PC. So all you're hearing now is my voice through the PS5. I wonder how it sounds. I don't know if it's echoey or not. You guys tell me, how does this sound? What is the quality here? And as you can see, I'm not synced with the webcam. It doesn't sound great. Sounds tinny. Sounds robotic. No echo, but it's low. Okay. Testing. 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 There you go. So this is the quality of a $40 mic.
And when I was watching this test live, I didn't actually realize this, but when people told him that the volume was low, instead of bumping up the very obvious slider that's currently on screen that says microphone level for USB microphone, DSP decided instead to just turn up the gain knob on the microphone, meaning that Brian is going to be hearing more of his air conditioner, that Brian is going to be hearing more background noise than absolutely necessary. Which I guess just means that he's having the exact same experience that his stream is currently having, but you would think that if you're going to go through the process of setting something something up for the first time that you would try and do it properly. And it's at this point that I want to take the time to remind you yet again that it doesn't actually matter whether or not DSP's audience likes the quality of the microphone and what the volume is like for them, because the only person that should be hearing this is Brian. DSP should immediately get Brian into a call and figure out from Brian's mouth whether or not it's going to work for him.
And I don't think there's any adjustments to make it sound better. Like, nothing's going to make it sound studio quality. And can you imagine if you were just like using this to capture for like commentary on videos and stuff? I sound like a Fallout 1 voiced character. Dabhand says, awful compared to your mic. Sounds like you're in a warehouse. Generation Z says, sounds like you're one of the voices you hear at airports when traveling. Nice.
And while I'm not sure how much of an effect it's actually having, I'm sure that some of the quality issues that comes with the microphone is the fact that this is being used for the PS5 and not for an actual PC setup. I'm not sure that any microphone is going to get studio level quality when it's being run through the PlayStation like that. That's why it would have made far more sense to just do this through Discord, not only because it would have been more convenient and DSP wouldn't have had to buy a separate microphone, but then also both content creators would get the best sounding audio possible for their audiences in their respective streams. I have no idea if DSP ran this thought by Brian or he just decided to take the initiative and make it happen the best way that he thought was possible. But if I were Brian and this was going to be the kind of audio that was showing up on my end of the stream, I would be absolutely floored and honestly just refuse to do the content with him until he figured it out. And if you ask me, some of the blame is to be on Brian because he should be aware by now exactly the type of person that DSP is and how unfamiliar he is with all of this streaming nonsense. He really should have taken the time to handhold DSP through the entire process if he was genuinely interested in continuing to make this kind of content with the guy.
No, I didn't go with the Blue Yeti. I saw a Blue Yeti. It was on sale for like $80. This was 30 something. And again, I'm only going to be using this mic for voice chat with like Brian when we do co-op. I'm not doing it to capture my voice for videos except for right now. So I don't see the point of getting a much better mic. So here's what it looks like. It's glowing. You can still hear me. Even though I'm bringing it away from my face, it still picks up audio. How about in the, hold on, try this. Testing, it still picks up backward. You can hear me backwards too. Testing, testing. It picks up better from the front, but it still picks it up from the back. Yeah.
Truly amazing insight from one of YouTube's longest content creators. I mean, who would have thought that the sound waves continue to travel around the room and possibly around the entire microphone when you have it spun around? Truly an observation that only the most illustrious and prolific content creators could make.
Attention all American Airlines passengers. Flight 302 bound for Toledo, Ohio is boarding at gate 8 at this time. All priority flight passengers who paid lots of extra money to board 5 seconds early, please get your dumbasses onto the plane right now. It does sound like it. You're right. Why? It's so metallic and echoey. So now let's test the feature. If I tap the mic, it should mute. So if I need to clear my throat, if I need to sneeze, if I want to say something just to you guys and not to the person I'm doing co-op with, I tap the mic. And then I untap it, and then we're good again. See that?
This guy can't even be bothered to mute his actual microphone that's set up for his own stream in order to make it so that his audience doesn't have to hear his disgusting noises. Do you really think that he's gonna do Brian any sort of common courtesy? I'm gonna press X to doubt on that one, Chief. Brian's gonna have to hear all of the same disgusting noises everybody else does. He's gonna have to listen to him snort and cough into the microphone all the same. It's even bewildering to me that DSP would even suggest this idea, because even he has to know that this is never going to happen and never was even a possibility.
So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean, these dumb kids. This is what it is, it's dumb kids. Why do I always reference Toledo? Because Toledo is a great place to be. Have you ever been there? It's amazing. So many good things there in Toledo. You can't hate on that. Come on. All right. So, I have a microphone that works with PS5. What I'll do is, hopefully, this works with Discord. Because the way that Brian and I are going to talk to each other is with the Discord integration in PS5. He's on PC, I'm on PS5, we're going to be playing cross-platform, so the only way we can voice communicate is to use a third-party software like Discord. I already synced my Discord to my PS5, I've just literally never used it to voice chat once, so I don't know what it sounds like. We're going to have to kind of mess with that and figure it out.
Wait, you're meaning to tell me that he is in fact going to be using Discord, but instead of doing it the proper way on his PC, where it would have been way easier for him to do it, he's instead going to rely on the PlayStation integration of Discord? Jesus Christ, I knew that he was making it more complicated than it need to be, but I didn't know he was making it that complicated. This entire setup is nothing but nonsense. And all it would have taken to streamline the entire setup that we've got going on now here is a couple of YouTube videos on the internet. You would think that he would be more than capable of watching a couple of YouTube videos, given that he's watched tech videos for every single character that he's gotten to master in Street Fighter 6, and that he's been on this very platform for 16 years now. He should be more than capable of watching a couple of videos. If this were anybody else, I would hope that somebody sets him on the right path and that he returns this useless microphone that he had no reason to actually purchase. But given that it is DSP, I personally don't care, and I hope that he continues to buy equipment that he doesn't need to just squander all of the money that he does actually have. I mean, squander it more than he already was by giving almost all of it to Scopely, of course.
Well, this is the best that we can do for 40 bucks, right? If I spent like 80 to 100 bucks, I could get like a blue Yeti, but honestly, for the as infrequently as I'm going to be using it, I don't know if it's worth it. Keep in mind, there's another problem we're not even thinking about. Do you want to know what it is? We're going to test it right now. Ready? Here's going to be the problem. Because I'm not just going to be sitting here talking to Brian. I'm going to be playing Street Fighter on this joystick talking to Brian. So what's that going to sound like? This. Son of a bitch, you mashing piece of shit. How dare you mash out that drive impact, you scrub. There you go. That's what it'll sound like.
You know, they say that every action can be forgiven, but I'm a firm believer myself that some actions have no path to redemption. And I think that subjecting somebody that you call a friend to this audio experience is one of those actions. But at the end of the day, that's between him and Brian, and I have no say in it. What I can say, however, is it is completely unreasonable that every single input that he put into that joystick was picked up by the microphone, and in turn is going to be heard by Brian. I realistically don't know how long Brian is going to be able to stand listening to that. Not only is it going to be a bad experience for him, but it's also going to be a bad experience for his entire stream. And you can see Bill Williams in DSP's chat right now saying poor Brian with the sad Pepe. OID telling DSP to just get the ear infection medicine already. Implying, of course, that DSP should just actually put on a headset to communicate with Brian. That way he doesn't have to be subjected to this nonsense.
Oh, good move. Oh, he parried me, you son of a bitch. You tricky dick. Take this. Oh, I suck. I missed it. There you go. That's what it's going to sound like. So it's not that bad? If I go crazy like this, then you can hear it a lot, but it's not that bad. Darziak says, to be fair, it makes it feel sort of like you're sitting right next to it.
And anybody's gonna have a hard time convincing me that that wasn't a sneak diss coming from Darziak. I don't care that he's a trusted dent, I don't care that he's even a moderator on his streams. At this point, implying that the awful audio makes it seem like you're sitting next to him might as well be a detractor meme. I mean, it's been used for so long to poke fun at the fact that it took DSP ages to adopt direct capture, that it's hard to believe that anybody could say it unironically and not as a sneak diss. But I think that we get the rough idea. DSP bought a terrible microphone that he had no business purchasing, and it sounds kind of terrible. So here's a couple more of the bits that DSP thought would be amusing to use while he sounds as awful as he does.
Dentronic says we went from increased audio quality yesterday to now drive-through speakers. Excuse me, sir, please repeat your order. I can't understand what you're saying. It sounds like you have a mouthful of marbles. Did you say you wanted a quarter pounder with cheese, or you wanted me to come out there and punch you in the nutsack? Either one is fine, just clarify. Oh, the nutsack. All right, I'm on my way out. I'm bringing a big wooden paddle. Here we go. Okay. It sounds like I'm doing an election speech on a podium. Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Due to the recent political news, we cannot have a convicted felon as a president. So I am announcing my candidacy for the presidency of the United States of America. Vote for Phil this coming November.
So now that we got those hilarious jokes out of the way, and I'm sure you are just picking yourself up off of the floor from absolutely dying of laughter, there is just one more small part of this clip that I want to make sure that everybody gets to see.
We have now used so much time. We need to do shout outs. By the way, Genesis Gaming says, why not use this Discord on your PC? Can't. This microphone needs to be used for OBS. That's why. I can't have a microphone going to OBS and Discord. It fucks up. And on top of that, you would have echo like this. This is 200 milliseconds delayed in OBS, but it can't be delayed in Discord. That would cause a problem. I don't want to have multiple mics plugged into my old PC and now have conflicts and shit. That's why.
And that was it. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of the rationale behind DSP's decision, behind his decision to purchase a microphone that, again, he had no business purchasing and didn't actually bother to look into. I'm, of course, certain that this entire setup that he's got going on here will work flawlessly, and there will be no sort of technical style issues during the actual making of the content. And now that we heard the sound test from the second microphone and we heard the rationale, I think it's time that we look at some of the comments from my last video. So, of course, it's big ups to the 60 Skulls. Vaporware says all these technical improvements and not a single change in the biggest flaw to his streams, himself. Sad. Very sad. You know what they say, Vaporwares, you just can't fix stupid, and unfortunately for DSP, that kind of is his biggest problem aside from his ego, of course. He's just dumb and unwilling to learn. But you're right, DSP's biggest problem is himself, and no amount of equipment is ever gonna make up for the detriment that he causes to his own streams just by being him. Danku Franku says, I still genuinely cannot believe this guy does this as his job and is relying on decade-old hardware running on an OS 3 versions behind. That's one of those DSP lore things that gets me every time. I'm reminded that the PC he uses to run his entire business is that ancient. Well, DSP really is just one step above a Luddite. About the only technology that he understands is how to play WWE champions on his phone. Everything else is completely bewildering to him. So it's really just on brand for DSP to continue running hardware that he received shortly after starting this whole content creation business, which was over a decade ago, obviously. And Hosku says, great, now we get to watch DSP in 120 blames per second. Because inevitably that's exactly what it's going to be, and everybody's aware of it. Because it doesn't matter how many different ways he tries to improve his stream or his game. He's still going to get beat by people that care, people that put in the time and effort that it takes to be good at these games consistently. All of this nonsense that he's done in order to try and limit the input delay as much as possible is nothing more than to stroke his ego. It has nothing to do with improving the gameplay or the streams for his audience, and has everything to do with making him feel good, because this is really all he has going for him, being good at Street Fighter. And it's really all he's ever had. And with that, I want to thank everybody for watching, especially if you made it this far. Hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video, but until then, make sure that you check out other Detractor content and dive deeper into that. Snortags.